Metropolitan Council. Today is Wednesday, May 16th, and I call the meeting to order. The first order of business is the approval of the agenda. Can I have a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Second. Seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? The motion is adopted. The next order of business is the approval of the minutes from our May 9th meeting. Can I have a motion to approve the minutes from
So
May
moved, Madam Chair.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? The motion is adopted. Next, at this point on the agenda, members of the public who wish to address the council on matters not on the agenda may do so, but I would just ask you to please limit your comments to 3 minutes. Is there anyone that wishes to address the council? Okay, seeing none, then we'll move quickly to the reports of the standing committees. Councilmember Rodriguez.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm going to ask Kelsey Campbell to come up and present on this item, but I did want to say congratulations to Kelsey especially, but all of SPO on this significant milestone.
Great, welcome. Thank you.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Madam Chair and council members. I'm Kelsey Campbell, the Environmental Project Manager for the Southwest Project Office, and I'm here to present the business item in action before you. Before that, I get into that, I will present some background on the decision. Leading up to our decision today, we prepared a supplemental environmental assessment that analyzed the project changes since the record of decision was published in 2016. The purpose of that document is to analyze those project changes both under the National Environmental Policy Act as well as the Minnesota Environmental Policy Act. So we have a paired federal and state process, and it's the MEPA decision that is before you here today. I'll go over the 10 proposed project changes that we evaluated here in a few minutes. The purpose of that document is to determine whether further environmental review is required or whether the supplemental EA can complete our environmental review process and if we need to update any mitigation measures. The SEA is to be used by you to reach a decision whether to issue a negative declaration, that is, that environmental review is complete, or whether a supplemental EIS is warranted, meaning further environmental review is required. The good news is that the Federal Transit Administration issued an amended record of decision yesterday, which concludes environmental review on the federal level, and that also included finding of no significant impact. So on the federal level, our environmental review is complete. The supplemental EA and amended draft Section 4F evaluation, upon which you're being asked to reach a decision, was published in February, and we did have a public comment period. We received 32 comments, which are being responded to in the amended record of decision and MEPA decision document, which is called the Findings of Fact and Conclusions. To provide a quick overview of the topics that were analyzed in the supplemental EA, there's 10 proposed project changes. Most of them are quite minor in scale and impacts, and I'll just summarize them here. We had a parking impact change near Opus Station that came out of negotiations with the property owner to reduce their parking impact, but the way that parking was reallocated across the site, we had some impacts outside our limits of disturbance, so we just needed to disclose that in our environmental review. The next item is adding a head wall at Minnehaha Creek. This came out of the permit coordination process with the Minnehaha Creek Watershed District in order to manage stormwater in that location. And again, the main reason we included that is that it was outside our limits of disturbance that we analyzed in our final EIS. The next item is identifying a detour route for the Cedar Lake LRT Regional Trail. The purpose of that is that the duration of the closure is lasting longer than we had disclosed in our final EIS, and therefore we identified a detour route on other trails and roadways. The next item is a realignment of 31st Street compared to what we analyzed previously. That realignment comes out of our coordination process with the developer and property owner and the city of Minneapolis in order to maximize developable land at their parcel. It's a minor shift, and that's also located near West Lake Street Station for a location reference point. The next item is limits of disturbance related item again at the Kenilworth Channel. We had a mitigation item that came out of our Section 106 memorandum of agreement to complete rehabilitation and landscaping at the Kenilworth Channel. And in our coordination process on that, we wound up going outside our limits of disturbance. The next item is a minor right-of-way adjustment near West 21st Street Station related to coordination with the property owner there to add a fence on their property, and therefore we were adjusting our limits of disturbance. The next topic is the BNSF negotiation modifications. That includes the incorporation of the corridor protection wall and other associated design changes in that area. This is our most substantive impact, but still not reaching that level of significant environmental effects. We did have an adverse effect to the railroad historic district, which we are, I'll present some additional information about that later in this presentation. The next item is trail mitigation at Bryn Mawr Meadows Park related to extending the duration that trail bridge is closed, and the park board asked that the project pave a trail so that it can be within the park that is currently in fairly deteriorated condition, so it can be used as a detour route. We added water service to sharing and caring hands. That was a minor water main connection that resulted in us going outside our limit of disturbance. And the last item is a handful of new potential construction laydown areas that were identified during final design in order to provide more space for the contractor to stage in areas of the project corridor that had some restrictions. This is a map of our proposed project changes that we analyzed in the SEA. They're throughout the project corridor, but most of them have tended to be on the east end of the project corridor. This is a visualization of our corridor protection wall. The design of this came out of our input process with the neighborhood organizations. So you can see the proposed barrier there. And then as the future condition would be with the LRT. This is a visualization of the Cedar Lake Channel just to show you the WPA retaining walls that you can see outlining the channel. This view is looking westward. The other component that we included in the supplemental EA was an amended draft Section 4F evaluation related to that adverse effect. And in our conclusion steps here, we'll also be publishing a amended final Section 4F evaluation, which will conclude that process and includes mitigation for the project impacts to that railroad historic district. And we'll continue to coordinate on those items through our Section 106 review process. So to get into the decision before you today, the background on this under MEPA is that we have 4 factors that we consider in terms of the negative declaration regarding the need for a supplemental EIS. So in summary, that the environmental effects have been considered, and we also consider cumulative potential effects, any changes to mitigation measures, which we do have identified, and the extent to which environmental effects can be anticipated and controlled based on our experience with other similar projects. The rationale of the decision that an EIS is not necessary for the proposed project modifications includes these 4 factors here. We've completed all environmental review, both on the NEPA and the MEPA side. The information that we've gathered is adequate to reach the decision about whether we have significant environmental effects. That is, we've considered all the impacts. We do have some changes to our impacts, but none of them are reaching that level of significant environmental effects. Additionally, we do have some updated mitigation measures to account for those new impacts, such as the mitigation for the adverse effect that I just mentioned, and the project does not have potential for significant environmental effects. The recommendation in the action before you today is that the council determines the project changes reviewed in the supplemental EA do not have the potential for significant environmental effects, and to authorize the chair to sign the findings of fact and conclusions document, which is the MEPA decision, on behalf of the council to support the decision that a supplemental EIS is not required. If that goes forward, then the next step in that process will be that we will publish that document on our website and notify anyone who commented, and the entire distribution list that we've put together over the course of the project thus far.
Great. Are there any questions? Please, Member Elkins.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm curious, in the St. Paul, Minneapolis, and Manitoba / Great Northern Railway Historic District, what are examples of features that need to be protected or mitigated?
The basic, Madam Chair and Council Member, the basis for the adverse effect is due to the introduction of the corridor protection wall and changes to the retaining walls. So it's really about changing the environment and the nature of the corridor. So the design review will both make sure that the 106 process is considered in our final design, as well as developing that mitigation.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, great. Do you want to read the motion?
Sure. Thank you, Madam Chair. I move that the Metropolitan Council determines the project changes reviewed in the supplemental environmental assessment do not have the potential for significant environmental effects, and authorizes its chair to sign the findings of fact and conclusions on behalf of the council in support of the decision that a supplemental environmental impact statement is not required.
Great. Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion on this topic? Well, I would just say that this is a major milestone, and thank you staff for their hard work in trying to get through the additional environmental work that was required. So with that, I'll take all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? The motion is adopted. Then we move on to other business or reports. Does anyone have anything they wish to report? I know we just met last week, so probably relatively short time frame. Member Barber.
Thank you, Madam Chair. On Monday night, I was actually out in Norwood, Young America for a city council meeting, and I want to thank a couple of our staff members who made the trek out there. So Angela Torres came out, so in case there were any questions related to comprehensive planning, and also Joe Barbell from MTS came out because they have been awarded a Safe Routes to School grant through the regional solicitation, and so they were having a presentation out there that evening for it. It was a really good discussion in general. They had questions about comprehensive planning, and also looking forward to the new TPP update. So it was a very good meeting.
Great. Any other? Member Munt.
Madam Chair, our Equity Advisory Committee met last night and had a very good conversation about the Parks Policy Plan. A lot of recommendations were made, and we're going to meet again tonight to talk about onboarding for the new members.
Oh, great. That's exciting. Any other? Member Rodriguez.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So I brought Freya Thaman out to the Choo-Choo meeting, the Northwest Hennepin League of Municipalities meeting, and they were really very grateful to have someone there that could answer their questions about comp planning. But also, she was grateful because at the end of the meeting, all the cities give their updates on what's going on in their cities, and she finds that very helpful, as do I. So,
Great. That's a fun meeting. So that's it. I don't have anything else to share. I think I've shared a kind of a major update on our Southwest LRT yesterday, and I think everyone has had the opportunity to kind of see that. We'll have the opportunity to hear more about that in committee and in another council meeting in the coming weeks. So with that, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Moved and